Recording in progress. It's still going. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So when people mess or say the word energy, especially clients will come in and they'll want energy work, I often like to quantify it, because people can, oil and gas is energy. We're always looking for energy. In fact, they say the 4 major food groups for our human body are salt, sugar, energy, and water. So being that energy is one of the major things that we have the capacity with our bodies and our being to utilize, we don't often equate it with energy, but sugars and salt, go through our bloodstream and break down to some sort of ATP or energy for us to use. But I like to look at energy as also awareness, and what am I perceiving, in my outer world, and what am I actually hearing through either my senses, my body, or my awareness. So there's also there's acoustical energy, and then there's electromagnetic energy. And so our bodies are very acoustical, like we're like plants. Our bodies come from the earth, we're based on those 5 elements, and our energetics and our awareness really encompass more of who we are. So that being said, that's kind of the work I do. I'll do it either through massage or cranial, but sometimes it just takes deeper listening in our bodies. And that can come through even just my own self-awareness and the practices I might do to take care of my energy, because we all have an energy body. We have a physical body. In fact, we have many bodies, but we're not often taught what those bodies are. And in hands-on work with another, there's 2 people there, and so there's combined units of energy that are available to us for our own healing. So if I go to a practitioner, I'm combining. If I come in with 30 units of energy and the practitioner has 50, well, then I'm able to use 80 units of energy for my own wellness and healing. So also with energy, it's more around awareness. So, if I were to tune into my body now, or you could tune into your bodies now, we often have an awareness of our energy. Do we feel lighter or heavier? And often when we hear something that's really true, it'll make us feel lighter. And when we hear something that doesn't feel true to us, it'll make us feel heavier. And so it's often, really being aware in the moment of what am I perceiving in my body, and how is my body perceiving it? Because the truth of who we are is not just our bodies, it's many things. So, well, I'm curious to know what you guys feel in your bodies right now. How do you feel in your body? If you do a head to toe scan, do you feel a lightness in your body, or do you feel heaviness, or are there certain areas that you feel light, other areas you feel heavier? And then this is where the conversation can come in, with what am I perceiving? I can actually say, okay, hey body, what are you perceiving? And if I can just be with you and listen to you and allow that deeper listening, what is it telling me?
I forgot to tell all of you, this was interactive today. You'll have to unmute yourselves, but Lynn really would like to know what you're feeling.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, where are you at in your bodies? And what does energy mean to you? Because I might define it differently than how you might define it. Betty, what would you say? Can I call on someone just for the sake of inviting someone?
I really don't know. I don't feel heavy and I don't feel light. I just kind of a neutral feeling.
Yeah. And what do you think of when you think of energy? What's the first thought that comes to mind?
I guess whether I feel like getting up and going to do something, or whether I want to just sit down and do nothing.
Got it. Got it. Cool. That's totally the energy part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else want to share what energy means to them or how they perceive it in their bodies?
Thank you, Lynn, for that introduction of energy. The energy that I feel is, as you say, it's awareness, and it's, you know, it just makes you feel just relaxed, and it sort of comes in the heart as well. And it's just the appreciation of who you are and what I am aware of during the day. And a lot of things, sometimes things come into my awareness, I guess you'd call it, that is it's just not going right for me. And then I have to just say, shield up, cut that off. And just go back to just being in a state of appreciation. And that seems to be a very accepting, you know, gratitude and appreciation just seems to settle that energy field back into, you know, that comfortable, warm feeling.
Got it. Got it. Yes, and often, you know, where our attention goes, the energy flows. So it's often good to really notice that, where is my attention, and if I set an intention, how do I keep myself on my intention? Because if my mind decides to go down, you know, into some thought that might not even be mine, then all of a sudden I'm feeding that through my attention. So really our energy has to do with our attention and what we're doing with our attention and our perspective of that attention. So, you know, with body work particularly, and getting hands-on work, you know, there's something bodies like to receive. They're very kinesthetic, and they were able to receive more from a touch often that is different than not having touch. So even touching ourselves, we actually nurture our skin, our whole organism by, you know, touching. And we don't often think of taking care of ourselves that way. You know, sometimes we're not taught to do that. It's like, oh, don't want to do that. But that's a way of engaging your energetic system, because it engages the senses. You know, we have the ability to sense things. And when we do sense it and really rest into the awareness of actually receiving the touch, our bodies take that energy and take it and put it in the areas that are needed, you know, that need the energy to do what it naturally knows how to do. It's sort of like if you take a plant and it's like Nikken, right? You put something in a greenhouse, it's going to thrive more. And when we create that sense of touch, and energetic touch, even if it's gentle, even with our intention to touch ourselves in a way that is kind and non-judgmental, you know, it's like putting ourselves in our own greenhouse. So the value of touch is so huge. And I know for myself, I didn't realize how much touch meant to me in my work. I was doing massage therapy for years. And as I got into doing more energetic work, I started to realize how I digest information when I'm learning things. And for years, I didn't realize that for me to actually embody my teachings or learning, you know, say through a book or reading, I needed to have that touch. And when I realized that, like in some of my trainings, I had to actually get across to my trainer that they knew that I knew what I was talking about. So I had to make sure, like I had to get myself across to them around a certain concept. And if they didn't get it, they didn't pass me. And the way that I got passed was when they, after 30 times of trying to get this point across to them, they actually just put their hand just like this and touched my hand and said, it's right here that I'm not getting it. And as soon as they touched me, I got exactly what it was that I was missing. And I was able to actually pass that exam. And from that point forward, I realized that some people need to have that touch in order to digest information. So that being said, you know, we have this organism that we're in, and it's there communicating to us all the time, but we often don't have the same language that it has. And so it's this learning of how do I want to be with energy? You know, if we take it into the concept of the Nikken products, I don't know that this is part of that, but you know, like the natural energy of the earth is there for us all the time. And even just to go lay on the grass and just be with that energy, our bodies eat that up. They eat it up and they just take it. It's like energetically, all of our emotional stuff, like if we were feeling emotional and we're having problems with that kind of thing, the earth will take that pain and just dissipate it. So, I mean, energy is a really big topic. And so I guess I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions or any questions for me around energy.
Or, you know, for me, one of the things that I've noticed and that I mentioned, I have tried really, really hard in my book, because this book about my husband's cancer journey tells a lot about energy, because we chose to do a natural energy, natural healing journey rather than the typical North American journey. And so to try and explain those things to people, I have tried really, really hard to explain energy to people in my book. And I've noticed that in our Nikken businesses, to try and explain natural elements of the earth and how that ties in, we just aren't trained in our society to think of things in the earth and the sun as being part of us, or to think of things of the earth and the sun and the air helping us sometimes. We think, when people think of the sun, they think of putting on sunscreen and, ooh, I don't want too much sun. They don't realize that we're fed by the sun. You know, when people think of the grass or trees, and I used to too, you know, you'd kind of laugh and go, oh, that person's a tree hugger, not realizing there's real stuff. There's negative ions out there that counteract free radicals. I mean, it's physics and chemistry. It's how it works with the body. So anyway, I just have found that it's difficult to tell people sometimes.
Yes, it is. It's a big subject, right? Like I said, and like I said, as soon as we hear the word energy, we immediately associate into what we think it means. So that's where, you know, part of it is breaking it down as, what does energy mean to me? What have I been told it means to me? What does it say in the dictionary? You know, what does that word say in the dictionary as how it's defined? And then what does it mean to other people? So part of it, I mean, our language is so powerful. And the first thing is to really ask myself, what is energy and what isn't energy? And the other thing is, we are made up of 5 elements, you know, fire, water, earth, air, and ether. And everything on the planet is made up of those 5 elements, and particularly our bodies. And even plants have a different combination of those 5 elements. So even herbs, if you take certain herbs, they will have a combination of those 5 elements. Some herbs are very fiery. If you take pepper, black pepper as an example, it's got a certain taste and it elicits a certain quality of those 5 elements. So, you know, this is the thing, is we've got these bodies that we're in, and it's like, how do we take care of our energy body as much as we take care of our physical body? And it's like what you were saying there as well. It's like, you know, I think it's when people get shown what energy is, they know. It's like doing the Meg. I tested somebody with Meg steps a couple weeks ago, and all I did was, I said, just stand on it, stand off it, and did the little muscle test. And she was so blown away by the subtleness of the energy that she felt on and off it. And I got a comment from her the other day. She's saying, oh my God, I'm feeling so much better, because she was having a lot of feet problems, right? And she's in Vancouver. I don't even know where. I only met her very briefly. And so, you know, but it's being shown. You know, it's being shown what it is, right? You know, so even like, you know, like touching, like you can, you know, this is another good one, you know, you rub your hands together, and then there's something there. I don't know. This is how they teach the energy work. You know, the first thing they have us do is rub our hands together, you know, and then how far apart can I pull my hands that I don't, you know, that I still feel it? Well, that's my field, you know, that's my field, and everybody's got one, you know, so that, you know, that's one way of getting to know what your energy is. It's like, and just by doing a little practice like that, you start to build that capacity to listen to what that is. And if I were to listen and say, okay, well, what way does that want to move? You know, if I was to just pay attention to it and move with it, what way would it want to move? That's engaging our whole cellular makeup, you know, of that quantum field, or I don't know what they call it now. I mean, they've done all kinds of studies on things like that, but we have that capacity. So I guess that's what I would like to leave this, you know, my piece of this is that play with it and just notice and be curious of, what does it mean to you? What is it? What isn't it? And then play with just your awareness of your container and how it feels when you go in and out of spaces, when you're outside versus inside, when you're sitting versus standing. You know, even sitting for a long time, what happens is the energy will pool. And we can just do simple things to clear it for ourselves. Now, if you have someone else do it for you, it's that much better, because you've got that combined amount to use. So that's my little blip on energy.
That's
try it out and play with it.
Dawn,
and see what it brings.
First of all, Dawn Marie, I think she answered your question. Do you want to unmute Dawn Marie? And she did. Okay. She says you did. Thank you. Emily, you had go ahead.
Yes. When you were talking about lying on the earth and the earth absorbing maybe negative feelings that you have, or sadness or whatever, would that be equally true with a grounding pad, or for that emotional release, or whatever you would call it?
You know, I would say the intention of the grounding pad is probably the same. However, we've got, you know, if you can get to the real thing, that's probably that much better. But the intention of the grounding pad is the same. And if utilizing your imagination and your mind, the way our bodies communicate to us is through our imagination. So even if you're laying on the grounding pad, you can just imagine yourself laying on the grass, and you're just that's the communication of that healing and vibration that will come in.
That's a really great thought. I never would have thought about that. Imagining myself on the grass when I'm on the pad. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Cherie?
Yeah, and what they just said brings to mind that when you don't have access to the grounding pad, or you don't have access to the physical ground, you can still ground by intention.
Yeah.
And
totally. And you could, like, imagining that, you know, that place that you may have been in your childhood or at some point in your life. There's often places we've been, like sitting by a river. For me, sitting by the river is just over the top. I have that memory embodied in my being. And so I could be sitting in a closet and not have any space. And I can remember that sitting by the river, and my whole body will take in that energy from that.
well,
and that awareness.
And if somebody needs something more structured to look at, I mean, they could simply find a grounding meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go through that grounding meditation numerous times, slowly and thoroughly, then once you have that, then you can just think, ground, and get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, because for some of us, if you say go find the memory, and we're like, I don't have a memory like that.
The other thing is, I don't know if you like rocks or stones. Like, I know for myself, I collect rocks whenever I'm at, you know, even just holding a rock, you know, it's subtle, right? It doesn't feel like much of anything, but hey, that's a living thing there. Comes from the earth, has had water running over it. You know, I think that's how subtle energy can be, you know, when it comes to earth energy anyways, and nurturing ourselves. It's getting out of the mindset of what is that, you know, how do I define what that is? If I can just be with it, as opposed to have to think it's a thing. What do I perceive from it? And how do I contribute to it? And how does it contribute to me?
Forgive me, I hate that little hand thing with Bobby. Sherry, that was wonderful.
No, take it down.
Oh no.
There.
No, I just stick my hand up and say, oh, wait a minute, that one.
Well, it's your turn, Hattie Jane.
That's what I mean. It's like, because one of the things that I've also worked with in the massage field, so I also addressed it, and I also entered understanding it, energy fields, my energy, after I'd been in the massage field, after years of administrating direct body care and nursing. So it's a really subtle thing that many times people can become separated from. It becomes a sense of activity. Let energy is what can I take down the coffee so I can get up and go do what I feel I want to accomplish, and perceiving that as our innate energy. And oftentimes when we have distress, and what I find is that when we get them together with Elaine and with our different groups, or our different times when we were Nikken people and other people who understand more of this subtle reality, is the joy I feel as I'm with them. Now, we're all remote, all over the countryside and beyond. So you can't be touching me. and yet I feel the comfort and the joy, and my energy is elevated. And therefore, after our sharings together, I become more interested in being involved or engaged in other things, which to me is a heightened awareness of an improvement in my energy capacity to be interactive in whatever I choose.
Mm.
And it's a very subtle thing that people experience all the time, but they don't identify it as energy.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly. That to me what energy is. You know, it's that here we all are, and here I am as a conscious being with choice, and all these other conscious beings with choice. There's something fundamental there that is beyond what I look like, what I say. And to me, that's the essence of what energy is. And even though we're going through this medium of Zoom and connection, there's something fundamentally there that wouldn't be there if this body was not alive. Right?
oh yeah.
Right? And I would imagine as a nurse, you probably, you know.
I can tell you there's a difference.
That's right, exactly. So.
Shirley Ann, you look like you got a question. Shirley? No? Okay, I'm sorry. I misread.
All right. Well, it's about time for us to go. We're trying to trying to be better people and make it shorter so that we can get into it and out of it and just learn a little bit. But I am dying because I have so many thoughts and questions for Lynne. And I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, you can email me anytime with any questions. I'm here and available. And
what's your email for people, Lynne?
My email is my first name, last name @gmail.com. So LYNNEHILDERMAN @gmail.com.
Thank you.
And I'm quite available to, you know, people want to ask more questions or find out more. I'm here and available.
One I do want to know before you leave, we know what fire, air, water, and earth are. What's ether?
Well, ether is sound.
Oh.
So you probably know ether because you're a musician, right?
No, ether.
So, and ether is also, it's the space in which we're all here. You know, it's the, the unseen space, if you want to call it. And as we move through life and get more wise, and our bodies get a little bit more experienced, we go more into that state of ether. And they call it Vata. It's more of our Vata season. And so what happens is, like, our tissues get finer. There's we start off when we're babies, we're in a very energized, everything's going and moving. And then, we go into our mid, time. Well, actually, when we're younger, we're more like water and sugar and sweetness. Like it's just like the time to build and do things. And then we go into our mid time where it's very fast paced. And then as we go into our older years, or more wise years, I'm going to call them, it has a different quality. So we don't need to move as fast, right? But there's ways that we can be with that in a whole subtler way, right? And so that it kind of gets into more Ayurvedic teachings, but it's very real, and it's something to just notice in our bodies. I notice it in my body. My body's changing. I've gone through menopause. It's like all of a sudden it's just a little harder to do the same things I did when I was 40, right? It's like it just happens, right? So but there's some kind of wisdom there that is in that season, but it has a certain quality to it. And so doing the things, sometimes we have to do those things that will nurture that ether element.
Wow.
And voice is one thing. Voice is usually something we can still do. And, you know.
And that's nice. That gives, you know, ether, that gives all of us on this call a great deal of hope.
And possibility.
And possibilities.
Right? What else is possible?
That's right. That's right. Picking up the phone and saying things to people with that voice that we still have.
Oh my God. And sharing the wisdom, you know, wisdom comes through that element, you know, it's that silent whisper, right? It's the unknown, right?
How many books do you read a month, Lynn? She's using all of these. I could
say I read more, but
these phrases, and I think that every phrase represents probably a whole book and a whole vast amount of wisdom, you know, that is behind that phrase. That's why we would like to talk with you more. But thank you so much for being on today. Really,
awesome.
really wonderful. Well, all right, let's all go and pick up the phone sometime today or go out in our car and go to the store, and either with our voice on the phone or with our face, let's go and smile at someone and help to raise their energy, and we'll notice that it raises ours also.
Totally.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you. That
all
was
right.
very informative.
And have a fun Halloween weekend, people.
Yeah, too.